the Africa service of Vatican Radio.
Welcome to our half-hour daily program for Africa.
In today's program, you can hear our feature, Health and Healing. First, however, our bulletin of church news, followed by African News Panorama. I am Festus Tarawali. Pope Francis continued his reflection on spiritual discernment during Wednesday's general audience, focusing his catechesis this week on the theme of desire, the deep longing for happiness and fulfillment present in the human heart. Speaking from St. Peter's Choir, he encouraged the faithful to ask the Lord to help us know his desire for our lives. Father Benedict Mayaki reports.
During his catechesis at the Wednesday General Audience, Pope Francis continued reflecting on discernment, focusing on its indispensable ingredient, desire. He said that discernment is a form of searching, and searching always stems from something we lack but somehow know. He noted that this knowledge of something we lack but somehow know is what spiritual teachers refer to as desire, a nostalgia for fullness that never finds full fulfillment and is a sign of God's presence in us. The Pope further explained that it evokes a suffering, a lack, and at the same time a tension to reach the good that is missing, and hence desire is the compass to understand where I am and where I am going, and not a craving of the moment. A sincere desire knows how to touch deeply the chords of our being, which is why it is not extinguished in the face of difficulties or setbacks, the Pope said. Obstacles and failures do not stifle that desire. On the contrary, they make it even more alive in us. Pope Francis gave the example of a young person who wants to be a doctor and embarks on a course of study and work that occupies years of their life. This choice, the Pope explained, means that the person will have to set limits, say no to other courses of study, avoid diversions and distractions, especially during the most intense times of studies. Thus, it is the person's desire to give his life a direction and reach that goal that enables him or her to overcome these difficulties. Pope Francis went on to say that often it is indeed desire that makes the difference between a successful, coherent, and lasting project and the thousands of wishes and good intentions with which, as they say, hell is paved with. In this regard, he noted that many people suffer because they do not know what they want from their lives and because they have probably never got in touch with their deepest desire.
Probabilmente non hanno mai preso contatto con il loro desiderio profondo.
Thus, he continued, they risk passing their existence between attempts of various kinds, never getting anywhere and wasting precious opportunities. The Holy Father concluded his catechesis by recommending that we ask the Lord to help us know his deepest desire that he himself has placed in our hearts and to give us the strength to make it materialize. I'm Father Benedict Mayaki.
In his latest appeal for Ukraine, Pope Francis on Wednesday urged those who have the fate of the war in their hands to seek peace. He also prayed for those who have suffered this week in Russia's heaviest bombardments since the start of the war. Linda Bordoni reports.
In questi giorni il mio cuore è sempre rivolto al popolo ucraino.
In these days, my heart is with the Ukrainian people, especially the inhabitants of the places where the bombings have raged. Pope Francis was addressing the faithful during the weekly general audience at a time in which Ukraine is increasingly under Russian fire. Earlier this week, following an explosion on the bridge that connects Crimea to Russia, Ukraine was struck by the heaviest bombardments since the early days of the war in February. Russian missile strikes hit not only multiple locations in the center of the capital Kiev, but also Lviv, Dnipro, Kharkiv and other cities, claiming several lives and causing numerous casualties.
Porto dentro di me il loro dolore.
I carry within me their pain, the Pope said, referring to the suffering people of Ukraine, as he assured them of his prayers offered through the intercession of the Holy Mother of God. God, said the Pope, always hears the cry of those who invoke him.
Egli sempre ascolta il grido dei poveri che lo invocano.
May his spirit transform the hearts of those who hold the fate of the war in their hands,
Possa il suo spirito trasformare I cuori di quanti
so that
hanno
the hurricane of
sorti
violence may
della
cease
guerra,
and peaceful
perché
coexistence
cessi
in
il
justice
danno della
may be
violenza
rebuilt.
e si possa ricostruire una convivenza pacifica nella giustizia.
I'm Linda Bordoni.
The Holy Father has sent a message to members of the Federation of Asian Bishops as they meet in Thailand for their 50th General Conference. In the message for the 12th to the 30th October meeting, the Pope encouraged the bishops to discern what the Holy Spirit is saying to them while maintaining fraternity and embracing the poor, young people, and dialogue. Deborah Castellano-Lubov reports.
Miembros de la Federación de Conferencias Episcopales de Asia.
Pope Francis has encouraged Asia's bishops to always more authentically embrace their mission as a church for the poor, the young, and for dialogue. The Holy Father did so in his video message to the members of the Federation of Asian Bishops Conferences, or the FABC, gathered in Bangkok, Thailand this October. In his message, the Pope recalled Pope St. Paul VI's visit to the Asian bishops, home to several cultures and religions. The bishops, Pope Francis said, noted that the masses were awakening and that culturally diverse societies were awakening to become a true community of peoples.
En una verdadera comunidad de pueblos.
This meant, he said, that the church in Asia was called to be more authentically the church of the poor, of the young, and a church in dialogue with Asian comrades of other confessions.
Ser más verdaderamente la iglesia de los pobres, la iglesia de los jóvenes, y una iglesia en diálogo con los compañeros asiáticos de otras confesiones.
Yet the Holy Father looked ahead to the future, urging the continent's bishops to look ahead and try to discern what the Holy Spirit is asking them today. He expressed to them his wish to accompany them in their work of fraternity and exchanging of ideas that they will carry out. It is important, the Pope said, that the regional conferences meet and keep in mind the fundamental question, what is the Spirit saying to the churches in Asia?
Y la pregunta base es, ¿qué le dice el Espíritu a las iglesias de Asia?
And this, the Pope continued, is what you have to answer. The Pope also dedicated some special words to lay people, highlighting their importance to the Church. The Holy Father concluded blessing the Asian bishops and inviting them to pray for him. I'm Deborah Castellano-Lubov.
Lesotho's newly formed party, Revolution for Prosperity, or RFP, which won the most seats in Friday's election but fell short of an overall majority, has formed a coalition government with two other opposition parties. RFP founder Sam Matekane told a media briefing on Tuesday he had formed an alliance with two other parties, the Alliance of Democrats, AD, and the Movement for Economic Change, MEC, after securing 56 seats in the election and needing to cut other parties to control Lesotho's 120-member parliament. King Letsie III of Lesotho presides over a constitutional monarchy but has virtually no political power. According to the mountainous kingdom's constitution, the party or coalition with the most seats in the National Assembly chooses the new prime minister. Mr. Matekane, a businessman turned politician, said the parties were also working on a coalition agreement which will be made public after the approval. The coalition will tackle crime and eradicating corruption within the first 100 days in office, he said. The inter-regional meeting of the bishops of Southern Africa in Mbisa sent observers to Lesotho for Friday's parliamentary poll. Among them was the coordinator of the social department of Mbisa, Zimbabwean-born Father Gilbert Chibira. He described the election as very peaceful.
The elections were quite calm, peaceful. We managed to go around about 4 different constituencies within Maseru region and down in the remote kind of rural areas. Generally, the elections were peaceful. We didn't notice any act of violence at any of the constituencies or polling stations. People were voting in nicely. Just in some constituencies, it seemed the process was a bit slow, but generally, they were all doing their part very well, and we didn't experience so much of long queues in the morning, but later in the day, queues started to grow a bit bigger. What I also realized was that there was not so much of the party representatives in some of the constituencies in the remote areas. You'll find that maybe only 2 or 3 parties that their party agents at the polling station. And in very few incidences, we had some people being turned away because their names were not found in the voter registration. Basically, that's what I could say for now. But what also struck me was that I think the booth for the polling itself was not very much a private thing, because the person casting the vote will be giving his back to the people, and people can easily see When I went to the polling station myself, I could see where someone was casting his or her vote on. The rooms were not so much big, and the booth would not be very far from the people. And people could see that someone is casting the vote. I could see, and I'm sure people who were seated around there could also see. So the aspect of secrets was not very much emphasized. I would suggest if they turned the booth maybe facing the wall, someone would cast his vote in secret there.
That was the coordinator of the social department of Mbisa, Father Gilbert Chibio, a priest of the Diocese of Gweru in Zimbabwe. You are tuned to the Africa service of Vatican Radio.